Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Why to Why for the month of March. I am so excited to talk to you guys about our show today, where we're going to talk about a free 5-day Design Your Business Challenge that is coming up with our guest today. So, before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Dan Dominguez, the Chief Growth Officer at Y Institute, and my why is to contribute to the success of others. My how is to challenge the status quo, and my what is to make sense of the complex and challenging. And so, what we're going to do real quick for those of you that have not been on before is review the 9 whys because we want this to make sense for you, right? So, the first why in the 9 whys that we're going to talk about today is contribute. To contribute to a greater cause, make a difference, add value, or have an impact. Number 2 is trust. To create relationships based on trust. Number 3 is make sense. To make sense out of complex things that are complicated or complex. Number 4 is better way, to find a better way and share it with others. Number 5 is right way, to do things the right way in order to get consistent, reliable results. Number 6 is challenge, to think differently and challenge the status quo. Number 7 is mastery, to seek mastery and understanding. Number 8 is clarify, to make things crystal clear and understandable. And the last one is simplify, to decrease complexity. Now, I want to introduce our guest today. The first one we'll introduce is Haydn Bratt, whose YOS is better way, make sense, and challenge. So you know the 9 whys. Now we know what makes up Haydn. Haydn is a business design specialist who's committed to helping driven female entrepreneurs find a better way to run their business and reduce overwhelm. He's a YOS certified coach and wants to help you discover how you can turn your big ambition into reality using your why to create an empowering mind and a brilliantly successful business. That's a lot. Haydn believes that the happiness and fulfillment we all desire is available when we discover how to develop our mindset and build the confidence to be our best self. He believes that the only thing holding us back are the limits that we define for ourselves. How did I do, Haydn?
That was brilliant, Dan. I'm impressed with myself.
Right? You've got to be impressed. That is an awesome YOS. It's an awesome mission. You do such a great job of communicating who you are and what it is that you do, what it is that you bring, and why you do it. So that when people approach Haydn, they know why you're in this. They know what drives you and who your ideal client is. So I bet you don't get a lot of wrong clients.
I don't get a lot of wrong clients, and yeah, I find I attract people because my is better way. I attract people who are looking to improve their life and they're looking to make things better in their world. So they really do kind of connect with me because that's what I'm all about. So yeah, I find it's quite interesting because I use the why, as you know, as part of our process, and the people who want to work with me in the long run typically have very similar whys to me, or there is part of the YOS that matches mine and really aligned because that's how powerful it is. So yeah, it definitely works.
That is so true. And, we'll talk about that. One of the things we talk about, because, sometimes when we talk about how do we get people to work with us, how do we get the right people? It's attracting people that are looking for what it is that we bring, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we get into relationships with a client that's not the ideal client. And the way I describe that is it's that client when they come up on your caller ID, you look and you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to pick up. And I think when you know your Y operating system and you communicate it, you attract people that are that are attracted to your YOS, and those are calls you want to take because you're having great conversations.
Yeah, 100%. Every time I'm
So
very fortunate that all of my clients I want to pick the phone up to because they are absolutely great people to work with. So, and yeah, as Bella's just said, attracting people who believe what you believe, that's absolutely what happens in my world. And what I advocate to all the people I work with is get really clear on that, and then you will have more people coming to you who will be a joy to work with.
exactly. Well, welcome to the show, Haydn. I want to thank you for bringing your guest today. I cannot wait to meet her. Let me tell our listeners a little bit about your guest. Her name is Sarah Walters. Her YOS is contribute, make sense, and trust. So she is a director at Aster Commercial Services Limited and a service partner at IT Asset Alliance. she is passionate about helping people see the real value that great procurement can bring. Whether she's working with subject matter experts or large corporations, getting the best value from their supplier relationships and minimizing risk is what she's all about. So I didn't get as long an intro for you, Sarah, but did I get it right?
Yeah, you absolutely got it right. That was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. I know that you and Haydn have some history, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get into the show. But I wanted to talk about the topic of the show is, Haydn, you've got an event coming up, your free 5-day Design Your Business Challenge. So tell us what that is, and tell us what people can expect from it, because I'm excited about it. I started hearing about it from you. I went and signed up, so I'm already signed up. I want to do it, but tell others what they can expect to get from those 5 days.
Brilliant, thanks, Dan. Yeah, and it's great that you're signed up. Looking forward to having you in the challenge for me. So, over the course of 5 days, we introduce you to the first steps that we take with our paying clients about how they can really design their business. So my belief is we have agency in our life. We are co-creators of our futures. And part of my belief is we can design our future. And for us who are business owners, people who are running their own businesses, we often get into this place where we either end up running a job rather than a business. We've designed ourselves a job, or we built ourselves a job rather than a business, or we get in this place where we feel that we're lacking that joy and fulfillment that you should get from having your own business. And what we try and do is we try and help you to redesign your future business in a way that will give you that sense of fulfillment, sense of joy, a sense of loving everything that you do. So over the course of 5 days, starting on the 4th of April, we will take you through 5 tasks, a daily task we set you. Should take you no longer than 15 minutes a day, with a short video from me that introduce it, and then a few questions that ask you to think into your business in a different way. And over the course of those 5 days, we'll encourage you to think about your business, think about the business you want to create and how you might want to design that. And then I'm available every evening throughout the week, evening UK time, live to answer any questions that you have about your business. So in effect, you get an opportunity to think about your business in a different way, plus the access to some live coaching and free live coaching for 5 days, where you can ask anything you like about your business, and I will do my very best to give you a half sensible answer.
Excellent. And so there's 5 secrets you cover. So, and I know that I'm not giving away the 5 secrets because you put them on your website. Let's talk about those 5 because they're so important. Hey, do you cover one a day?
We do. We take one of those secrets a day, and we really get you to think into those particular attributes of your business. So we get you to get really clear on the reasons why you do. So we're on Y to Y here, but we get you to be really clear on your purpose behind your business and why it really kind of matters to you. And we ask people to think about, actually, what's the dream life that I'm looking for, and how close am I to that? So we get you to really be clear on that particular first aspect of that side of things. Then we get you to look at what are your real drivers. So understanding the drivers that sit behind it and getting really clear on those. We then get you to look at how you can actually create a really profitable business. So day 3, we get you to do the numbers. And I remember, Sarah, you really enjoyed the numbers. We do a numbers task that actually, the secret is building a highly profitable, successful business is much more accessible than we sometimes believe it is. So we give you that access there. And next area we look at is actually, how do you attract the right clients? How do you get people who love what you do and believe in what you believe? And then the final secret is we share, how can you stop working quite so hard, but do more in less time? So really think about, actually, how can I do less but achieve more? And that's the final kind of secret that we untap for people.
You know, that last one right there is going to bring me. I can't wait for that part, because we all want to do less and get more, or do more of what we love, right? More of what we're really good at. And I think you'll cover some of that. And the why is so involved in that. So I love that you begin with that, Haydn. And I'm so glad that you were able to use this tool in your business. How did the 5-day business challenge begin, Haydn?
It really began because I was struggling in my own business. Actually, I was COVID had hit, and I was really come up against this position where, again, I talk about the fact that we sometimes end up owning a job rather than a business,
Right.
where we're trading time for money. So I was in this position where I felt like I was working every hour that possibly there, and I couldn't grow my business because there was no more hours left.
Right.
And then COVID hit, and that kind of threw out some things. So I really started to think I need to rethink about how I design my business. And I started working with my own coach, a guy called Dave Evans, and we together worked through this framework. And I loved the framework so much, and it was so valuable to me that I actually took that framework and started to further design it for use with my own clients. And so that was the kind of the epiphany moment where I really kind of thought, actually, I need to do something to help me get into a place where I can have greater freedom and enjoy my life more. And the benefits have been is actually since doing that, I've had the most successful 2 years in my business post-COVID ever. And I am able now to feel like I've got the freedom to run a business in the way that I want to run it, rather than feeling like I'm just trading time for money and I have to be a slave to my own organization. So it's really helped me, and I wanted to provide that support for other business owners. And my particular focus is on female entrepreneurs, because, again, one of the things I'm really passionate about is leveling the playing field. Right, we know that in today's modern world there is still an uneven playing surface that female business owners are operating on. There are what I often call the pink cage still exists that control and restrict a lot of opportunities for female business owners. So my real passion is to actually be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. So I want to help female business owners actually overcome some of those challenges that are inherent in being a business owner and a female. So that's part of the reason why I particularly focus there.
I like that so much, Haydn. And you know what? It would be great if we had a female business owner on the show that might have gone through that experience that could tell us a little bit about what that was like. Oh, wait, there is. There's Sarah. So, Sarah, I know thank you for being patient. Haydn and I just got on some questions. So 2 things. I have a question for you, but we got a lot of people that are watching and listening, but they're stalking us. So I'm going to ask those people to tell us where you're in the chat. Tell us where you're calling in from, comment. And if you have any questions, let us know, because we want to acknowledge you and make sure we know that you're here. I know you guys are always very active and have some great questions for us. But Sarah, how did you and Haydn meet?
Oh, so we are part of a mastermind group together, have been for about 4 years, probably 4.5, nearly 5 years now. So we've got a mutual friend, Andy Hall, who runs his own coaching business, and he was pulling together a mastermind group and invited both Haydn and myself on. We were 2 of the founding members, I'd like to say. It's changed a bit. There's 10 of us, and a few people have left and a few new people have joined. But that's when I first met Haydn, and when I obviously got to know him and his business and what he does. And that's how I got involved in the 5-day business thing that he was just talking about. So
right. So the 5-day business challenge. So you went through that. So I want to talk about the YOS connection. So both of you have the how of make sense. So Sarah, your why is to contribute, your how is to make sense, and your what is trust. So what that says to me is you're someone who believes in making a positive impact in the lives of others, making a difference and contributing causes that are bigger than yourself. Now, how you contribute is by helping people make sense of the complex and challenging. That means you're a problem solver who has a unique ability to solve complex problems faster than most, and you use your gift to help others. And ultimately, what you bring, what you can be counted on, is to be a trusted source, someone who can be counted on to do what you say you're going to do. Is that you?
Yes, most definitely. So, you do a lot of these things in your life, don't you, where you learn about who you are and whatever. But I've never come across anything like this, where you really understand the why. And when I looked at it, it just jumped off the page at me. And it's interesting what you said, Haydn, about you tend to attract people who are similar to you, because we've obviously got that shared kind of situation. But one of the things I was going to say, Dan, is that the reason I started on the business challenge with Haydn is not just because I knew him, and obviously I therefore had some knowledge of his capability and his skill before I joined. But there's a couple of things for me. One is I was in a very similar place we were in a very similar place, because I'm a joint owner. There's two of us. And the bit that resonated with me that Haydn talked about was the fact that, because we run a consultancy, effectively, we help our clients. And when you've got a certain number of people times a certain number of hours in the day, there's a ceiling that you hit. And we wanted more for our business. So that's what started me thinking about joining the business challenge was, okay, how do I think differently about the business? It's not just people times quantity times hours and money, but people often talk about making money while you're asleep. So I was really interested in how that business challenge would build on the kind of why and the how and the what to actually put it into practice and think about, okay, well, what does that mean for our business in terms of growing and moving it forward?
And that's music to my ears. So Haydn, kudos number one, because did you hear Sarah said the why, the how, and the what? She's got the order right. And sometimes people get on the show and they get the order wrong, but that is so important, because it's why you do what you do. It's how you go about it and what it is that you bring. Now, your partner, Emily, her YOS, and this is really wild. So I want to ask about this. Her YOS is to challenge the status quo and do things differently. But her how is the same as both of you. Makes sense. And then her ultimate, what she delivers, is contribute. So that has to do something with why you guys are attracted to each other and how you work well together. But you got somebody there who likes to challenge the status quo and do things differently, which is a gift, because it gives you ideas. It gives you some different ways to look at things. But there are challenges that come with that, especially with somebody who's leading with the why of contribute, right?
Well, yes and no, actually. I don't know why, but I do know why. Of course I know why. We've always worked really well together, and we worked together before we set up the business together. So, and what was really fascinating for me was I started on the business challenge with Haydn. Then I signed up to do the paid piece of activity with him as well, because I got so much out of the 5 days. I just wanted more. And I did that on my own. And then actually we brought Emily on behind, and she did that with Haydn separately, and then we brought it together. So Haydn got to see us separately, and he said to me, it's amazing how similar you both are. And I think, so there's a couple of things that I think of why it works really well for us. Having the same how means that we both know that we don't have to micromanage each other. So I know that if Emily's off doing something with a client, or I'm doing something with a client, they're going to get a very similar approach. And also, given the nature of what we do, because we help our clients with, they buying things, it's all about taking a lot of data, analyzing it quickly, making sense of it, coming up with pragmatic solutions. We don't mess about, basically. You get a very kind of pacey response from Aster. That's what you kind of buy from us. So the nice thing for us is that we clearly operate in a very similar way. And I'll tell you a little anecdote. Actually, we were on a call with a guy the other day. It's one of the people that we work with, so it's not a client, and we were talking about a project, and the only time that we could get on the phone was kind of quite later on in the evening. So we joined this call, and being quite kind of, the way that we are, Emily and I were in different places but on the call with this chap. Right. And he started the conversation, and he'd already sent us an email beforehand about it. And in about 10 minutes, Emily and I had got it nailed, and we were like, right, that's the action plan. That's what we're doing. And the guy was like, what just happened there? And he actually said to us, it's quite funny that you both were almost talking at the same time, but you were able to understand each other and come up with the outcome and deliver it all in about half the time, because we're just so in tune with each other and we understand each other so well. And he was a bit flabbergasted, but we were like, well, this is how we operate all the time, because we're just so used to being with each other and we know what the other one's thinking, because it's the same thing, you know, we're kind of going in the same direction. So yeah, it's it just what it did for me was make me feel much. I mean, I already knew that I loved working with Emily, but actually when you go through this process, you kind of understand that there's a good reason for it, and therefore you kind of sink into it even more and just go, well, I'm in absolutely the right place. So
and it's, you know, I hear that as I hear you tell that story, that's a characteristic of people with the why of makes sense. So it's your how. It's how you guys do everything. You have this amazing ability to take in all that information that the client was giving you, and you both process it faster than most. I mean, that's a gift. Now it can be a downfall, right? But if you use it correctly, which you are, to help people solve their problems, in your case to do something different, or in the case of your in your case to contribute to the success of your client, and in Emily's case to do something different. Either way, you're bringing something, but you're both operating in that same make sense mentality. And Haydn, you know, you've got a little bit of that in you too, right? Because Haydn is better way, makes sense, challenge. So I can see how you clicked really well with both Emily and Sarah, because you've got a little bit of both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that Sarah, both Sarah and I connected with in the mastermind, actually prior to working together, was we always like to get really practical. So whenever we were talking about things in the group, we would always get really practical. We'd want to have things that just let's make sense out of this. Let's do something that's really practical and moves forward. So we were always, I think, able to connect on that level. And I think that's probably why Sarah enjoyed working with me through the framework, is because we'd talk some concepts, but then we would make sense of it for actually how do you going to apply this in the real world, rather than being a theoretical concept or just an idea. And that making sense out of stuff is a big part of what I do and what I love doing. So we definitely connect on there.
And it's interesting because what I have found is that if I share one of my top 3 with another person, we're going to get along great. If I share 2 of my top 3, it's like an instant connection. But when we share all 3, forget it. We're finishing each other's sentences. And so in your case, Haydn, you share challenge and make sense with Emily, right? Yeah. And then you share make sense with Sarah. So makes it so easy that you believe some of the same things. You're motivated by some of the same things. But let me ask you about this, Haydn, because I'm sure this happens. You don't turn away people that don't just have your degree, right? Because it just depends on what they're looking for, right? You can have a right way person that wants to do things the same way as they've always done them, but they know they're looking for a better way. They know that there's got to be a better way out there. So if they're looking for a better way, there's someone you're going to work with. Tell me about how you operate when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's a really great question, because of course there are 9 ways. So I naturally attract people who've got better way, but it doesn't mean that that's the only people who will come on. And you're right. I love working with people who have got a right way. For instance, to use the example that you gave, because they might want to see improvements, but when they do it, they want to do it in a really thorough way that makes sure that they lay down new processes and procedures that become the new way of working. So they typically will take the things we do and they apply it to the nth degree, because they want to make sure it absolutely is right when they take it forward. So they don't do anything by half. They absolutely invest in those new processes. And people like that often take what we cover as part of the framework, and they apply it really, really thoroughly. And that's great to see, because they're going to get the outcomes and the results that they are looking for, because they will do it by the letter.
Right. They're going to, because it's the right thing to do. If coach said to do that, that's what we're going to do, right? And if it's going to get us results, and your frameworks are so detailed, Haydn. So if you haven't been part of this, I mean, Haydn has some amazing tools that he shares with his clients. And I know that for someone with, whether your why is challenge or your why is better way, I think regardless of where you come from, we all need a framework to operate out of. And when you systematize you can systematize, so you can deal with the stuff that you can't, right? Because that stuff's going to come up in business always. So Sarah, what you're a graduate of the business design program. So how did the program impact your business or your businesses?
So Well, it was amazing, because, and you'll tell me that maybe it's the making sense bit, but you know, when you're a business owner, we spent the first 2 or 3 years being very lucky because it was our network that gave us most of our business. And then we found that obviously, you know, that dries up at a certain point and you need to start finding you know, new clients and things. And I knew that Haydn had been through that. So that was one of the things that sort of attracted me to it. But we were at a bit of a loss as to know how to kind of set that stall out, if you like, and to, you know, to work out, well, how do we start this process? And if you're not careful, you end up at the end before you've done the process in the, you know, that Haydn takes you through. So everybody probably goes, well, what's our vision and our mission at the beginning, and write something down. And then they go, right, how are we going to deliver that? And they jump right to the other end and start trying to put a plan in place with no real understanding of kind of how they're going to get there or what it looks like. So I think what I mean, and maybe it's just because of the nature of who I am, but what I really loved about it was the process of it, the framework itself. There's steps and it's clear. And I loved giving that responsibility to someone else. So I could focus on what was important to me about the business, what I was passionate about. Emily and I talked about, you know, where do we want this to go? What do we want it to look like? But Haydn was there as this trusted advisor alongside, kind of going, well, we'll get to that, ladies. Just wait. Do this first. Do this thinking. You know, there is a process here and there's a reason for this. But let's just get these building blocks in place. And then we can start and think about, well, what does that mean? So that was great, that it kind of slowed us down and made us follow the thinking through before we got to so what are we going to do about it? But equally then, what's great is that you end up with a very detailed, but actually simple to use output. So again, sometimes you go through these things and you do all of this thinking and then you don't have anything that you can actually physically use to run your business. But you definitely get that with Haydn's framework. So when you come out the other end, you have a document that's got everything in it, and you can use it in a very simple way to actually manage on a short-term, a medium, and a long-term basis. And it drives your business. So yeah, that really appealed to me, the simplicity of it, you know, the nature of the kind of process that you go through, and the fact that there is a journey, if you like, with a definite goal in mind. So yeah, it was great.
I love that. And you talked about where that came from earlier, Haydn. So you took something, right, from your coach, and you found a better way. You made it better, and now you're sharing it, right? And that is so better way, right? Take something that exists, make it better, and then share it with others. And now you get to see what Sarah was able to do. You know, as you were talking, Sarah, I can't imagine that Emily would have said, why do we have to do it this way? Or that she wanted to skip steps. Why would a challenge person want to do that, right?
No, she was just going, well, why aren't we going twice as big? Or, you know.
Right.
So, yeah, which is great. So,
and that's the beautiful thing about understanding, because had you not known this about her, you would have thought, okay, why is she trying to do that? What versus having that knowledge and understanding that she's just being herself, and she's gonna challenge it and think of different ways to do it. But if you explain to her and bring her back in and say, okay, we can get to that later, but let's follow the process for now. There's a time for that, and there's a time for following the process. And this is a proven process that Haydn has developed. And so you guys went with that, and obviously you've had success with it. So it's so great to hear that from you. So Haydn, is there, you know, when we talk about who you like working with, so we've had, you know, you don't often get to be on the coaches calls because you're the time difference, but we talked on the coaches call, which whys work best with each other and which whys kind of tend to have issues with each other. Have you noticed any patterns?
So definitely those people who are looking for so being really future oriented, so better way contributes, definitely, because they want to make a bigger contribution, so really looking out for, definitely get that. We do get some right ways, as we talked about earlier. We want to make sure that they do it, but they want to really have something they could trust and rely on, so we get that. Probably the people, and I guess it's no surprise, but people who we have had in Sarah's cohort, there was one who had a way of mastery. So they're always wanting to make sure that everything is, well, hang on a second, let's go to and understand why this is the case, and why does this
Right.
work, and where's this come from, where's the provenance.
Right.
Actually, give me all the evidence that sits behind it before I can get on board. So they make me work a bit harder, but they can still get some value out of the process. But no, I think in answer, all of the whys get benefit from it, but it's really about, and I guess being a why practitioner is actually how can I adapt what I do to meet their why, so I can talk in their language rather than doing it from just my language. Because, you know, as a better way guy, I'm always going to think of, well, this is a better way, but actually I have to challenge myself to adapt and step into their world rather than forcing them into my world, and see if we can meet somewhere. So I think that's what I find. But yeah, probably mastery is probably the one that just keeps me on my toes the most.
Yeah. So, you know, since you brought it up, I don't know if one of our coaches in Texas, she has a sliding scale for who she works with. She literally, you know, if she says, and I can't remember the whys, but there are certain whys that she says, look, I know that client's going to make me work a lot harder. And she says, I just make my proposal double. And if they're willing to pay double, I'm willing to put up with what it's going to take to work with them, because I know the challenges are going to come with somebody with that particular YOS. I don't know if you've applied that, Haydn, or maybe I just gave you an idea.
No, we've got a standard fee for everybody who comes through. We're very fair and consistent in that way. So no, absolutely. No, it's great because every business owner, as we say, we want people to design their business around the future and the life that they want to live. So if you're a challenge person, then we want to have a business that absolutely feeds into that challenge mentality and gives you the opportunity to be challenged. And if you're somebody who is trust as your why, we want you to have a place where you can really feel like you can demonstrate your expertise and your knowledge, and really be in a place that you can rely on. So it's about designing it for you, which is what really matters.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening, our lunchtime, but it's your evening. And so we appreciate you guys being on. Haydn, is there anything I've forgotten to ask? I know we want to make sure we get that link up there so that people can sign up and work with you, but they can also follow you on LinkedIn. And Sarah, is there anything we forgot to ask? Anything we want to talk to people about? Because we're talking about procurement, something that I have not seen too many procurement experts in my time. So I'd love to tell. Is there anything you want to tell our audience as they're listening?
Well, it's a very exciting time for procurement at the moment. The market for procurement resource has gone absolutely nuts over the last 2 years, and I think it's because people are realizing with the challenges of COVID and the pandemic that, you know, their suppliers, that's been the time when they've had to pull the contracts out of the drawer and have a look at them for things like force majeure events and stuff like that. So, you know, they've had some supply chain challenges and they've had some procurement challenges with their suppliers. So I suppose there always needs to be a bit of an incentive, doesn't there? So right. I think it's a really exciting time for procurement, you know, for consultants and contractors in that space. So yeah, it's exciting times for us at Aster, and it makes me even more happy that I'm alongside a challenging business partner, because, you know, it just means that the opportunities are huge for us, which is really exciting. And with Haydn and his support behind us, it's a really good story. So.
Well, thank you so much. Best of luck. I know can you believe the first quarter is almost over? So we're going to sit down and evaluate those first quarters here pretty soon. But I know that you are having some success. I know Haydn is having some great success. I'm looking forward to the class, Haydn, and to learning alongside some amazing people that I know are going to be joining from our side. So Sarah, thank you for being on, and have a great evening, both of you.
Thank you,
Dan.
Dan.
My pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much.